the court case that had started in 1950 kept on meandering its way. And so finally, it is the UP High Court that takes the issue of the evidence seriously. Now, they have all the evidence that the scholars had gathered. You see, in 1990-91, that winter, there was the scholars' debate, but it was really a one-sided debate. You see, all the Hindu scholars, because they were being challenged in the newspapers and so, there is no evidence, they did take care to find what evidence there was. So there are lots of documentary evidence that proves at least that the Muslim community itself had for centuries been perfectly convinced that of course there had been a temple there. Now, and then there was the archaeological evidence, but on the other side there was nothing. And so that incidentally is why in 2002 I titled my own book about Ayodhya, the case against the temple. You see, this must have wrong-footed many book buyers, because it seems to suggest that I'm going to take a stand against the temple. No, you see, what I wanted to draw attention to was that the evidence against the temple is non-existent. And so that's what the court found when they called the eminent historians to the witness stand. You see, they broke down. It seems that they didn't even find the need to prepare themselves for this test, to at least save their face. No, you see, they just broke down. They said, yeah, but I'm not an archaeologist. I never been to Ayodhya. I only signed because my colleagues signed,
and
which is, of course, exactly what happened.
And I'm just a PhD scholar.
Yeah. And so for the judges it was clear enough. You see, there is no evidence against the temple. Of course, everything goes in favor of the temple. So their verdict in 2010 could only be one thing. It is, first of all, recognizing this is a Hindu site, and then leaving as much to the Muslims as seemed reasonable. Now, the solution that they came up with was not entirely reasonable, because they left the Muslims a piece of land very close to the site, which means that, again, you see, Hindus and Muslims would meet every day, and this would maybe not be such a good idea. So that's really the only difference that the Supreme Court case has made. They allotted a place at a greater distance. But then, so the really definitive court case is the one in 2010. It's then that the courts decide, it is the scholarly evidence that has to speak. And then it goes to the Supreme Court, which, as secularists, they don't feel like confirming this verdict, but there's really little else they can do, because the scholarly evidence is so decisive. So what do they do instead? Something at which Indian judges are very good, namely postponing. They even come up with this idea that, yeah, but there shouldn't be a judicial verdict, there should be a negotiated settlement. Then they bring in Sri Ravi Shankar, who has the great merit of setting up a number of meditation centers in the Middle East. That's exactly what should be done. You see, to bring the Muslim population back to, you see, the basis of the human consciousness, and teach them the best that Hindu civilization has to offer. But of course, it means that he has to be very careful with what he says about Islam. He's absolutely not the best person to lead that kind of negotiation. Anyway, so at that point, the BJP does have an important merit, namely the law minister, nudges the judges, come on, you see, get to work. Come on. And so on the 9th of November 2019, which is on the anniversary of the first stone, the Shilanyas in 1989, they definitively give the site or give back the site to the Hindus and give some, symbolic other side to the Muslims. So that's it. That is the definitive situation.